321 teams battled it out this year on the Rift, delivering incredible performances, poignant moments, and a pentakill or two. Now, a single series separates us from crowning our next Kings of College League, and I am more than happy to be here for the occasion. My name's LaTigris. I am joined by the triumphant return of TJ, and I was told that Zeus would be joining us, but I guess I'll settle for Lorem rolling on through. Really
Sorry.
great to have you here, though. Yeah, you know, just
I've graced you with my presence again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've been graced by Lorem's presence here on the desk. And TJ, we haven't seen you since the first day of the round of 8. And I think it's fair to say we've had a lot of action since then.
Yeah, it's been a minute. There's been a lot of good games. I'm excited to see what the two teams bring forward today.
Speaking of those two teams, as we said, we have whittled it down to our finalists that will be facing off in a best of 5 series today. So as we get into that, for anyone that may have missed the action so far in the CLOL season, Lauren, what can you tell us about the play style of these two teams?
So starting with Maryville, they're kind of like an all-around team. There's no person in specific that they play around. They've gotten wins through Chippies, they've gotten wins through Evan, through Auto Orange, Spyrox. All of them fulfilled the role on their team that they need to, and that's what makes them such a good team, is that they're very adaptable to the situation at hand. They're not a one-trick pony team where if you focus one side of them that they're just going to fall apart. At any time and any moment of the game, they can swap up their playstyles to focus on one of their carries and make sure that they have success in the game. And that's what I really, really like about Maryville, is that you never know where the carry is going to come from.
This is a team that, as we heard from Niles on the first day, or yesterday rather, when he was here for the semifinals, none of these players are the same as the last time we saw them kind of on the championship side. Yet despite that, they all carry that weight and are putting forth these kind of championship level performances that they will definitely be trying to bring to the table today, TJ.
Yeah, Maryville has a really, really good showing. And on the other side, in terms of Winthrop, I think it's super important to highlight that they also have a lot of carry members. Well, they do have a star player in Doxa. That doesn't mean that their other members aren't contributing factors. So I think that this series today will be decided pretty much around the mid lane. As you can see, a highlight reel from Doxa going on right now. He has had a lot of standout performances, but that is off of the back of their other members. So Sir Kenji has very high mid proximity, Hybrid is willing to play to help out around mid lane, and of course Phosphorus with, again, very high mid proximity. So that'll be the big contrast today, is will Maryville adapt to that play style and play around the mid lane, or will they focus their efforts elsewhere?
So much fire being ready to be brought by the Winthrop side. And that was a real banger of a series last night that we had, going the complete distance for them to earn their spot in this final. Being that we are down to the final 10 players we will be seeing taking to the Rift before we have our official champions crowned, let's spend some time digging a little deeper into the players themselves. Starting with the top lane matchup, we've got Hybrids on one side, the counterpart on the other is Chippies. And Alorem, interestingly enough, some of Chippies' player friends have actually described him as somewhat of a Chad in the lane.
Chad in the top lane might be correct here. If we just take a look at the stats here, he's got almost 300 damage per minute over Hybrids, and he's got a whopping 2,000 gold at 15 minutes differential between Hybrids. And it's not even like that Maryville just focused the top lane. He's doing this almost purely 1v1, which speaks measures about how good he is in lane just on an individual talent level. I'd say if I had to pick a lane where I'd say the biggest differential is in the game, it's going to be the top lane. Hybrids usually plays for his team, while Chippies is kind of more of a selfish player and plays for himself and his own advantages.
Outside of just gameplay, he does bring a wealth of experience, having played on the international stage and playing professional in Australia for quite a long time. So it'll be interesting to see what the differences are between these two laners and how they both contribute to the games.
And Hybrids is one of those players that also has a keen eye onto Maryville University, having spent some time under the red banner himself, alongside some other teammates of his that we'll dig into deeper in a few moments. But we do want to also make sure that we touch on a very integral matchup for the series. It's got to come from the jungle. We were lucky enough to hear both from Phosphorus and the Odd Orange in interviews after their series, and they have been extremely dominant players for their teams.
Yeah, if you haven't heard both of the interviews, you should go check them out. They had some very interesting things to say. These players are pretty similar. By that, I mean they're both willing to play carries. They both love playing aggressive, but they don't mind taking a back seat if needed. So yesterday we saw Odd Orange Plata Sejuani. We know that Frost Force can play things like Nocturne, Jarvan. Even a Nunu might come out. So it'll be exciting to see where the differences lie on these two, especially with such a heavy focus on the mid lane for the series.
Yeah, and a big thing about these players is that while they both do pick kind of these carry junglers, the role of the jungle right now in the meta is you can pick a carry jungle, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a very big individually focused role. You have to play around the top laners or any of your laners rather to get those kind of advantages. So jungle diff usually comes from the lane diff in this meta right now.
And so many of the supportive players, whether from the support position or the jungle position, have been so key to their team. When we're looking at the potential carries, though, that will be carrying that damage into later portions of the game, we got to look towards that bot lane. Evan RL does have quite a challenge. He is facing off against Saskio, who, if he ends up winning today, could be putting a remarkable mark for his historic legacy thus far, TJ.
I want to hit on Evan RL first here. I think he's a very interesting player in that he's willing to play the mages. He'll play the sack champions like Senna, like Varus, and be more of a like supportive role. I imagine they'll both end up farming a little bit. But like you were saying on the flip side, Saskio, this player is so good. He duos with himself. He plays Yuumi with his feet. He, like you said, will be a 3-time CLOL champion if he wins today across multiple teams, multiple roles. And as you can see here, they both will probably end up farming quite a bit and allowing their supports to make most of the plays.
We did see the Senna compositions come out. We saw a lot of that supportive style from them, still servicing their teams in the best way they see possible. But interestingly enough, when it comes to the bot lane, we have actually marked the supports as the stars in a lot of these scenarios. Both Sirkenji and Shady have been really making their presence known on the Rift.
100%. Shady had a very standout performance on Thresh earlier this tournament. He is a leader. He did play professionally with Phoenix One, and I'm sure he's looking to take a step forward and see what he can put his name out for again. As you can see on the screen now, he even had a couple solo kills playing a lot of the Senna Tahm Kench. Overall, Shady's been a pivotal part of Maryville with very, very key shot calling according to his teammates and a very level head. So here we're looking for big playmaking supports. So stuff like Thresh, stuff like Nautilus, and even though his support proximity might be a little bit higher than Sirkenji's, his roams have been really, really, really high impact throughout the course of the entire tournament.
And so
a lot of this.
I think,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, when I think of Sirkenji on the opposite side of the matchup, I'm never thinking of the 2v2 in the lane. I'm not thinking, wow, this guy's going to be so lane dominant. He has an extremely low proximity with his duo, so once Sirkenji hits that level 3, he's saying, bye-bye Saskio, I'm heading straight to the mid lane to give my boy Doxa some support and give him the kills. So when it comes to these two support players, they actually fulfill a really similar role on the team, and where they want to go outside of their own lane to make plays around the top lane, make plays with their mid lane, or make plays in the enemy jungle. And the question is, who's going to do it first and who's going to do it better? Because the nuance around this is around what timers they have on the wave on bot lane and when they want to go back, when they want to go toward other lanes. So it'll be interesting to see how both of the teams do this play style and which one of them will come out on top.
They both did have such dominant performances, and I mean, whether it's Sirkenji making sure to have those initiation plays, or Shady bringing in that professional experience from times past into his performances here, we will be looking towards what they decide to do in game, because we mentioned a lot about the mid lane, the supports bringing that power to the mid lane as well, and Doxa and Spyrax both really seem to be standing head and shoulders above the competition.
Right, and so Spyrax is brand new to the collegiate scene, which is really great because he's had such a good showing. And what I really like about him in specific is that his champion pool, I see, fits the meta almost perfectly right now. He's very into the AD assassins. He's got games on Yone, he's got games on Renekton. In the past, he's favored Tristana and Jace. He's played Akali. So when you play a lot of these physical damage champions, aside from the Akali, of course, it works really well with your jungler because the meta of junglers right now are mostly AP champions. You've got Rumble, you've got Diana, you've got Nidalee, Lilia, you've got Morgana. All these champions are AP, so if you want the damage spread, Spyrax has almost the perfect champion pool to make sure that your comp has a good mix of physical and magic damage.
So much versatility coming from that mid lane position on a lot of these teams. And TJ Doxa, a lot of his versatility, not just coming from how he plays, but the fact that he's getting experience from his amateur position on TSM and really showing out here in college as well.
Right, so Doxa is playing for TSM Amateur, and as you can see, he does have pop-off performances. We can see a Tristana clip, next we'll see Lucian. He is probably going to be put in the carry seat for his team for this series, so I'm very excited to see the types of champions that he will pull out. He had a great Akali play. We know he can play the likes of Orianna and all the other mages if needed, but for this series, I'm expecting mostly pop-off type champions, and it'll be interesting to see the battle between them, especially when we consider, as Lauren was mentioning, how the support roam timers work out, as well as with the jungle proximity.
As that battle will be taking place soon enough, I do want to get your official predictions before we head into that championship match. Alorum between the reigning champions in Maryville University and Winthrop opposing on the opposite side. Who is taking home the crown today?
I'm going to go with Maryville. I think the Chippies odd orange duo queue in the top lane, top and jungle is just going to be too much for Frost Forest and hybrids. I've got to give it to Maryville.
Thinking the power is going to come from the top side from Alorum. TJ, where do you predict the victory to go, and in what fashion do you think that's going to go down?
I think I'm going to have to second Alorum with a 3-1 or 3-2 victory. Maryville did look a little bit shaky. Winthrop also looked a little bit shaky. So, you know, if a game goes one way or the other, it might just snowball completely. I do think that Chippies will probably be a key influential member to carry their team to victory. And so I'll have to go there. I would really love to see Winthrop win, you know, dethrone the Kings and put Saskio in such a great position. But I do think it's going to be Maryville.
If Winthrop does manage to come through with the win, though, considering we have seen these series go the distance and some upsets happen, TJ, what do you think is the key win condition for them to be able to thwart the power that is behind Maryville?
We've been highlighting Doxa, and he does play quite well. I think it'll be mostly on the jungle and support duo of Serkenji and Frost Forest, because they will be the ones that propel Doxa to be able to make the good plays. Any good main laner can't really do it on their own. It usually does end up having to do with how well the support and jungle are able to.
And there you go.
In jungle and the rest of them going to make the plays in this series. We are ready to get one step closer towards crowning those next champions. And the voices that you will be hearing through it all are Kangas and Raz. Let's bring us into the next chapter of C-LOL history. Gentlemen.
Thank you, LaTigress. Welcome, everyone, as we are preparing for the grand finals of the 2021 League of Legends College Championship. King of the North in Maryville University looking to defend their crown against the challengers, Titans of the Southern Conference in Winthrop University. I'll be your play-by-play for the day. Kangas joined by the always lovable Raz, a.k.a. new on Twitter, Raz LCS, I saw. Congratulations on getting that title. Raz, how you feeling today?
Rest in peace, LaPlasm. I'm feeling good. I mean, like, being able to catch the college championships. Both these teams, we've seen them for a very long time. They've been competitive throughout the amateur circuit. And then when we saw, well, I saw, you know, they were in top 16. I was like, okay, well, we know where this is going. You know, they're just stacked with talent. And so while it's unsurprising to see them here today, I am actually genuinely interested in who's going to be taking it. I know a lot of people have their chips in favor of Maryville, but Winthrop has looked damn good coming up until this point. You know, people talk about Doxa, but he didn't win MVP of the previous series. It was Frost Forest, their jungler, who I thought played phenomenally in all of their wins. And I remember when Odd Orange was having his interview, literally pinpointed Frost Forest specifically as a standout jungler as well. So something that, you know, we're here today. It's time to find out who's the champion.
The thing that makes this so hard to tell for me, Raz, is the story of 2021 for both of these teams. Maryville, historically the top collegiate team. They've won twice. This would be their third time taking the championship, setting them as the only program to ever do so. But Winthrop, throughout the year, has been competing in amateur tournaments alongside Maryville and has actually scored more Proving Ground Circuit points going into the Proving Ground season. So these are definitively the top two collegiate programs. I don't think that we could have asked for a better grand finals here, not just because of how good these teams are, but the stories. This would be 3 wins for Maryville, but the last 2 that they got, they had Saskio. Guess what team he's on this time around, Raz? He's actually over on Winthrop's side. So who's going to win it? Is it going to be the team getting the repeat or the player?
Somebody has a bit of information on the inner workings of Maryville. I'm just saying. I know there are a lot of players out there that have a lot of players that's worked in the college scene that's been through Maryville at some point, Saskio being one of them. And he's been a damn good player in his own right. So this is going to be a fun one. It's going to be Winthrop, of course, being on the blue side and Maryville being on red side. Let's get the games going.
Let's roll it, Raz. I cannot wait to get into game number 1. Bans already. Gangplank taken off the table. This is a very common ban from Winthrop Eagles side. They do not like playing against us. And Chippy has a mean Gangplank as well, so no surprise there. But the answer is Maryville Rumble and the Senna coming in.
That's the thing. That was my expectation coming into today's game, is that like the most common pick for Chippies has been the GP and Gnar. So with the GP being gone on the wayside, Gnar's now like the first pick that Maryville can go for Chippies. When I say first pick, I'm more so just being like blind pick more specifically. Meanwhile, Winthrop, their bot lane's been very specific. They've gone Nautilus in the past 5 games. All 5
Every
games.
game against,
exactly. And it's been in 7 of their previous games. So Nautilus is almost guaranteed that if Sir Kenji can get his hands on it, he will pick it. So that's going to be something to look out for. The Thresh is going to be banned. It's been a constant ban throughout international events, and it's been a highlight pick, a highlight reel throughout this tournament.
Interesting that Maryville would ban that, though, when you were already mentioning the Nautilus priority coming in from the Winthrop Eagles. Maybe they're prioritizing that more, but they are on blue side. They get that first pick lock in, so we'll get their answer of what they think is the highest priority. And one champion's made it through the ban phase, Raz, that has shown how strong she can be in the right hands. It's locked in. We get a Gwen game 1.
Incredibly flexible. We've seen this champion in 3 positions: jungle, mid, top lane. I've liked the adaptation we've seen from Maryville going up against it. If I remember, during the round of 16, we've seen Olaf and specifically a really an Akali as well. So like specifically those 2 champions, if you can trap it in lane, I think that's nice. But then, if it goes into the jungle, I have not seen as much of that. So I want to see what we get out of Gwen.
Yeah, I believe we only saw 1 Gwen jungle, which Winthrop pulled out against Harrisburg in game 1. Didn't have them with a win, but we'll see if they're able to pull it off this time around. Still flexible, though. We do see Maryville locking in the Kaisa and the Morgana as follow-ups. Pretty standard right there. Winthrop, though, answering with the Varus of their own.
But it's always interesting to see like how Morgana fits in the comp. I know the world's got to see a lot of Morgana internationally once again. Either Morgana with a Jinx, so you're going straight front to back, or the empowerment of the Kaisa to just dive straight through and know that she's safe in doing that. So that's a lot of faith in Evan RL when team fights happen, that he has that sight. So that's going to be the Nautilus being put through from Winthrop. We've seen that time and time again. It's just working so well. For Maryville's side, though, I think you go towards a Leona. I honestly want to see more of an engaged front towards the bottom lane. Just because, or you can go Braum, but I think Leona works. If you go Braum, Morgana in your composition, then that's really tough to start a fight. You don't want to have those as a duo unless if you have utmost faith that you can like have a good setup around an objective and they walk into you. Great pick from Shady. He's been an amazing support all tournament long.
I can help you out there, Raz. It ain't Braum, it's the Leona, the first one that you predicted right there. It makes a lot of sense. I like the Nautilus pick from the Winthrop Eagles because we've seen Sir Kenji played a lot, and it pairs incredibly well with the Kaisa. But so does Leona. She also has a lot of setup, a lot of non-committal engage options. So Maryville's composition looking very strong. I'm liking both of these comps. I feel like both these teams are showing us meta, which is something that we haven't seen throughout all of the rounds of 32, 16, even the top 8. Teams are still playing a lot of comfort. We've seen that these 2 teams can play comfort and the meta, and I love that. But let's catch up on the rest of the bans here. Akali taken off the table from the side of Winthrop. Victor taken off the table from the side of Maryville. So focus on mid laners.
Yeah, I like the Akali ban. That does give us a tip of the hat that that's going to be a Gwen mid lane, or just a lane in general. You can put Akali in top lane. And I think the Akali matchup versus Gwen is actually quite good. So the Syndra ban is an interesting one. Maybe they think it's going to be hybrids picking up that pick. Either way, those are safe control mages being banned out from Maryville's side.
To me, this says that they want to go for a mid lane counter pick, right? They want to grab something, or save something here so that
Yes.
there's no safe mid laners for Winthrop to lock in, right? They could lock in their top lane, assuming Gwen might be going up there. But again, Winthrop, they are willing to play that into the jungle. So Maryville have to make a decision right now. Which solo lane do they show? Do they want to give the counter pick to Chippies or to Spyrex? Because giving Dox a counter pick, that's pretty dangerous.
There it is, and that's the
Renekton's the
Renekton.
lock-in, though.
It's a great flex, and I think it's going to follow wherever the Gwen goes. And I think this is a really smart drafting decision coming in from the coaches of Maryville and Zoo and Thomas. So I really want to see it. I have not seen a team go up against Winthrop and have that much faith in their mid lane matchup that they just put it all in, chips on the table. And if you're Maryville, you do that because Spyrex has been such a standout performer. So this is already a banger of a draft in game 1.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot here, but it does mean that pressure's on Spyrex. If that becomes the Gwen v Renekton mid matchup, that's the dangerous proposition there, but they do at least still have the Morgana Renekton lockdown combo, right? That is a lot of CC plus mix of AP and AD, but Udyr's the lock-in for Winthrop, so that will be a solo lane Gwen, but will it go top lane or will it go mid lane? They also were hovering the Gnar, which would signal that it would be Gwen mid, but let's see if they actually commit to it.
I think it's safest to go Gwen top here, just because the trap is being laid by Maryville, and it's going to be a Scion top lane. So it's going to be Gwen mid. The trap from Maryville to put the Gwen into the Renekton lane, I think, is going to be the go-to. There it is. That should be a Gnar lock into the top side, and it should be a very strong 2v2 from Maryville in the mid lane. Renekton and Morgana versus the Udyr and Gwen. It's a very tough way for Winthrop to play the game. I think they should want to play towards their bot lane instead.
They do have a very strong bot lane to play around, Varus and Nautilus, and I mean, that is Dasco in the bot lane. We highlighted him as a player. He's won collegiate twice. Yes, he was a top laner. He role swapped to bot lane, but the last 2 times Maryville won was with this player on their team. So if Winthrop want to put their resources, their priority into him in the bot lane, I think that's a great strategy. But the final lock-in for Maryville, they lock in the Camille, so some split pushing pressure now.
I like that. Another win condition. Why not, right? Especially if the opposing side has gone straight towards Scion. They're going to be in a team fight heavy focus. They have triple front line with Nautilus, Udyr, and the Scion. And now Maryville, while they can team fight, they do have angles. Man, that split push focus now that you have from Camille on side lane, I think is another chip that you have ready for you if things go awry or if things are beautiful. Like, if the game's just that easy, just let Chippies off on the side lane. So I'm really loving what I'm seeing from Maryville's draft.
This is echoing what Joshi, my co-caster from the round of 8, said. Threat overload compositions. That's kind of what he calls these ones, where you have multiple threats that you can try and carry through. Sometimes the risk is, if nobody gets ahead, you don't really have anybody to be a front line. You don't really have anybody to, play through at that point. But they have options in the early game for this Morgana to play around. But the concern I have is it's a lot of AD, right? You got Camille, you got Renekton, you got the Kai'Sa. Yes, the Camille can do some of that true damage, though, which is nice. But Scion, Nautilus, Udyr, those are all champions that can stack up that armor. So Morgana's going to have to be putting in some work this game.
Yeah, that is fair. In the end, though, one thing to make note of is, if the game goes out of control, if Winthrop starts getting an advantage, the tanky stats will mean a lot. Morgana does still pack a punch, goes towards Leandri's early, so that's something to always kind of be aware of. It's not the typical Morgana that a lot of people will see in the support position, so that's always something to be aware of. But we're in the game.
Yeah,
Winthrop
let's go,
versus
Raz.
Maryville.
This is it. Game number 1 of the Grand Finals. Winthrop University looked dominant in their Southern Conference. They got the Saskio buff. He's won 2 collegiate championships already. Can he make it a third versus Maryville University, looking for their 3rd championship as a collegiate program? Again, I could not have asked for a better Grand Finals. Early in the game, we just see the battle lines drawn, some early wards dropped, and sweepers picked up here. So Raz, I'm just going to ask you straight up, man, where are you predicting the early action to happen? We've broken down the teams, we've broken down how they want to play out, but let's look at the junglers now and think about their pathing. Where are we expecting them to put their early priority?
So I would expect the Morgana to want to path towards the top side and give Chippies the hover and the focus so he can kind of push in and get his wave in so he doesn't get ganked. Because that is a strong ganking power from Udyr or Scion in general, so you don't want to leave her out in the open there. Frost Forest, though, as we said, play towards your bot lane. Bot lane is the one that will get you your advantage. Nautilus, even though in that specific matchup, Leonish would be fine. The Varus is the one that's ultra powerful here in the matchup. So that's what I'm expecting.
Doxa aggressively trading onto Spyrax. No surprise right there. This is what we wanted from the mid lanes. Just lots of blood. A little miscue there from Sir Kenji. These players are feeling each other out in the early stages of this game. I like to see that. But echoing your point, Saskia, Sir Kenji, it seems like they're trying to shove this wave in, try and get an early level 2 against Evan RL and Shady. Actually, they go for another engage right now. Good trades, just aggressively chunking out Evan RL and Shady, getting the better of that. And look at where Frost Force is pathing. We could see a play bot side once he arrives.
Exactly. And it might, in the end of the day, Udyr just want to focus on his folk player and look to get the Scuttle Crab. If there are more hooks like that from Sir Kenji, then maybe we get a dive. That's very possible. But Sir Kenji, that hook was insane. You know, straight through the minion wave, just on the tip. He's been playing a lot of Nautilus, so you can tell that he's that aware. He kind of caught Saskia off guard. But this is the type of game we're looking for. You know, the interesting thing about this from Maryville's side is, yeah, mid lane is a focus. You know, Gwen is such a powerhouse in terms of her laning. Doran's Blade makes a lot of sense because her auto attacks empowered from her E is just that good. And then when you get those auto attacks that you can stack on the minion wave, QE. And, you know, you can just straight up chip the enemy mid laner here. So Spyrax is going to have it be a little bit difficult to deal with. But remember, you even seen Sir Kenji come here early.
Yeah, this is
the desk was on point.
Was highlighting. Yeah, he gets out of lane as fast as he can, and he actually stopped the back of Spyrax right there. He's still back, and I think was he actually trying to back?
He was. This is actually pretty rough.
Wow.
This is a really rough situation because the wave is pushing into Doxa. It's been frozen on Spyrax. Spyrax needs help here, and he doesn't have teleport. Remember, he's going for the kill threat with Ignite, and Doxa's just going to sit here with Frost Forest.
Although Auto Orange is nearby as well, so if Doxy gets too aggressive, Auto Orange is going for the gank first. Frost Force is backing them up, though. Spyrax jumped in, so he doesn't have that much mobility left. Will get out just fine, though.
He's just going to keep the lane state here. This is doomed for Spyrax really early on. Keeping the 3 minions steady. Right now, all Doxa wants to know is if Renekton is basing so he can match the base at the same time. This is a perfect situation for Doxa. If Doxa ever sees the Renekton, he's actually going to stick around. Remember, he has the teleport here. He has TP advantage, so he doesn't actually have to do anything until the Renekton shows his face. So really good laning phase from Winthrop.
And the early back from Spyrax only nets him that Ruby Crystal plus the control wards and a couple pots. So it's not like, Spyrax gets a really big back and now Dox is going to be in danger of dying from an all-in. I mean, he is half health, so maybe it would happen. And Auto Orange is here too, so do they actually commit for this? I like where Dox is positioned, though, up on the top half of the map where his jungler is, meaning that Auto Orange will not find an angle.
Yeah, I think Auto Orange is going to look for the Raptor camp if he has the timing right here. But also,
they do go for it.
At the end, he's just helping. Yeah. He's just helping get the wave pushed in so it can be, actually cut the freeze. So good situation there. It's a little bit of greed from Doxa wanting to stay in lane as much as possible, but here we are.
Bot lane engage coming in from Shady, but well played by Sir Kenji. Throwing out that hook so he gets Aftershock as well and cancel Shady's ability to Q stun him immediately and walks away. Yeah, Raz, this is just both of these teams looking for these little plays, looking for these little opportunities to find that first blood, that big momentum swing into the game. But Doxa finally backs, teleports back to lane. Now this is a purchase. The Bramble Vest picked up on the Gwen first item.
He is looking for lane dominance, says, all right, come at me with the Yasuo emote. This is a fun game. And this is what we expect from our finalists for the Collegiate Championship. Winthrop going up against Maryville. And the ace in their hole is Spyrax versus Doxa. I didn't think it was going to happen this early on in the game, but you know what? Why not? I love it.
The wave is pushing back into Spyrax, so he will be able to catch this. I'm happy that the observers are highlighting this mid lane so much, because this feels like where everything is going to be decided. Another engage on the bottom half. Actually, Evan RL taking a decent chunk, but Saskio just gets bursted down in response. That is summoner spells used. Jungle gank coming in on the bottom half, though, as Frost Force will catch out Evan RL. He has the flash. Shady tries to engage back in onto Saskio. First blood picked up by Saskio, though, and they'll follow up with another. 2 over to Winthrop.
Huge. Leona wanted to see if she can at least get a trade off there, but Saskio gets his cube back off cooldown. 2 kills from Winthrop incredibly early. What a strong start.
That is not what Maryville wanted in that situation. They were trying to just trade out aggressively, chunk down Saskio, not realizing that Frost Force was in the neighborhood. Let's get another look. Yeah, you see Frost Force pathing down right away.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a great angle. No wards to catch Frost Force in his pathing towards this lane. It would made it easy. Shady tried to see something here because at the end of the day, they're both going to die. Flash was still up from Phosphorus, so he thought maybe he can get a trade-off. Both died now. The wave is going to be pushing away from EvanRL and Shady since they got the chance to bounce it. So it's going to be tough. It was already starting tough early on in this game for Saskio and Sir Kenji getting an early advantage, and it's only going to get stronger.
And this is where you were highlighting that you wanted Winthrop to put their attention, right, Rez? Saying, hey, okay, Doxa is getting counterpicked mid. He's doing fine in that counterpick, by the way. But still, you know, presumably you wouldn't be able to play through that as well against a Morgana Renekton combo. So putting that priority bottom half, it pays off for them. Saskio got one of those kills. And also Frost Force got the other. So Udyr getting a little bit further ahead of his jungle opponent. Also just in the clear speed. Odd Orange kind of falling behind. 2 levels down on Frost Force. Now Shady's really far forward. I don't think that you can do this. You do have numbers advantage, but now Sir Kenji has joined in. And look at the level differential right now. Again, Frost Force level 7. Yeah, they just catch out EvanRL. No summoner spells. Another kill to Winthrop.
Nice pick. They found out far too late that they didn't know where Saskio was. Even if they had the numbers advantage at that point, he was going to be there immediately to even it up. And they had the HP advantage, so Winthrop challenges them and gets the early dragon.
This is a fantastic start for Winthrop University. Already up 2,000 gold against Maryville University, the reigning champions. I know we didn't get to see a 2020 champion crowned, but they are the defending champs from 2019 and also looked like favorites in 2020 regardless. So Winthrop, a lot of people, all the analysts were saying, hey, this is a Maryville favored series, but Winthrop making a statement early on into this game with a gold lead, dragon advantage, but can they keep it going? Because Maryville, they do still have this multi-threat composition, and Chippies has been just farming away in the top lane.
Yeah, so they have options, which is great. Like I said, coming out of the draft is that if they're in an advantage, if this team is rolling early, then man, you really can't beat them on any angle. Win conditions from Winthrop would be dwindling. But from Maryville, the fact that they are losing at this early portion of the game, now that you got to put the eggs in Chippy's basket, he has an early advantage in matchup. Wow!
Ooh,
Steals
steal
it.
away. I don't think Odd Orange will actually get it, so that will be a wasted Herald, unless he wants to flash and give up his life.
He gonna do it.
There's no way. Yeah, there's no way.
Gonna
But
do it.
still, they take it away from Winthrop. That's actually pretty good. Now they make the play here on the Frost Force. Oh, is he the play just barely out of range? Maybe Odd Orange can chase this down. Teleport coming in here from Hybrids. Winthrop looking to turn the play right now. Maryville might have bit off more than they can chew here. Unstoppable onslaught. They cash out Shady. Support's out of the picture. Odd Orange has to flash the wall to get away, but EvanRL still with no summoner spells. Still just a level 680 carry. And Winthrop looking to abuse that fact. Trying to dive onto EvanRL. They might have enough damage. He's so close to turret, but not close enough. Doxa picks up a second kill of the game.
Working as a squad in Odd Orange, you're next, buddy.
Oh, no. Yeah, he used the Black Shield to dodge the depth charge, but there's just too many members of Winthrop here. This is a 6-0 start. You cannot ask for more than this.
When the desk said Sir Kenji leaves lane early, I didn't expect to this degree. Like, he is the team so far. And he's been doing a great job solidifying an advantage for Doxa. Being there when they want to challenge Rift Herald. All of these things are working out.
Oh, they're looking for more. No, Saskio way too far forward, trying to shove in this lane. Teleport available for Chippies. This will be a free kill. This is kill over onto Chippy's side. Winthrop stay a little bit too long, get a little too greedy, and Maryville will actually capitalize on that.
So there's hope. Chippies is your savior if you're a Maryville fan out there, because that was a good call. They see Saskio and Sir Kenji overextending, trying to take turret plates. TP is still available from the Camille, but taking a look at this great steal from Odd Orange. It was just really them wanting to net the actual benefit of it. Get the treasures. I mean, you ended up stealing it. You want to be able to get the Rift Herald. So they go for the fight. TP comes in, and they realize they're at a numbers disadvantage there. So Odd Orange knows he has flash. He can flash out of the pit. The rest of the members, you guys are doomed.
Unfortunate to say the least. EvanRL standing right next to the teleporting Scion also. I think at that point, even I get that you're the Kai'Sa, you're a little short range, but
yep.
Need to pay respectfully to all these diving champions that will try and get onto you. And then, yeah, we see the rest of this one. Well done from Winthrop University to find these kinds of plays back to back to back in the early game.
Yeah, cuts off Orange's exit even when he had flash. So it's one of those games where Maryville needs to recognize that even with that steal, great, you still can't take a fight. If you're taking a fight, you're doing it as a full squad because Winthrop is going to be there. And unfortunately, they have the better team fight comp. So take a look at this. 3 members ready to defend the minion wave so Evan RL doesn't lose the entire wave off this one. Winthrop is so damn bloodthirsty.
Yeah, they sent 4 members down here. That was 4. Spyrex was also hanging around in the mid lane just in case they went for the dive. That's the kind of play that Maryville have to focus on right now. Very defensive. They don't have a lot of proactive options right now based on where the gold currently lies because you see a lot of that gold onto Doxa getting close to finishing that mythic item already on top of the Bramble Vest being completed. Add you. So he's up in, yes, he's up in kills. This is looking like exactly how Winthrop like to play their games. Sir Kenji and Frost Force roam around the map, fight with Doxa, get Doxa kills, let Doxa carry.
Man, this game is looking like they have not seen Morgana, but I don't think she has an angle here, especially with Udyr and the Gwen kind of roaming, always in the river. So they don't really have vision. Now they see them.
Spyrex gets back under turret. I thought maybe you'd have to use flash or something like that if Frost Force gets aggressive, but good on him to stay safe. You're talking about that Morgana. Here's the engage coming in from the side of Maryville. They do not lock Saskio down, but they still have Odd Orange nearby. That's a lot of traded damage. Ooh. Wow, that chunk onto Evan RL. Yeah, he's going to have to back off. Maryville cannot continue this trade.
Yeah, Hybrids is ulting straight to the fight, coming into the play so they can solidify the second dragon for the team. Let's see which soul this turns into. You know, they're crossing their fingers, hoping that it's not a cloud, but this is looking like a 20-minute soul point. It's going to be cloud, but regardless, Winthrop has a firm advantage, and they're in a potentially a 20-minute soul point area where Chippies now has to start being involved in these fights.
I liked the initial play right there from Maryville, looking for that kind of pick. You say, hey, they're a little split. Maybe if we get a kill, we can actually take the dragon, but really well done from Winthrop to just avoid that, right? Saskio uses the flash to get away from the ult. Sir Kenji's taking the front line, and then Frost Force shows up. And like you said, Raz, that nets that second dragon over to the side of Winthrop. They, whether they're being proactive and looking for the plays or reactive and kind of absorbing the blows from Maryville, they're winning out on both sides of that. And that's exactly what you want to see in a grand finals performance from this squad. They're the challengers right now, Raz. They're looking down Maryville thinking, hey, I know you're the champs, but we are the potential future champs here if we can close this one out.
Yeah, I mean, they're the underdogs here in Winthrop. Not a lot of people have faith except for the fans and, of course, the Rocky Hill hopefuls. So
there's a lot of them in the chat right now.
True, there we go. Everyone loves their underdog stories, and they're coming in strong. I mean, once again, Winthrop coming into this tournament was, you know, one of the top favorites alongside Maryville, but coming into, we've talked about Maryville's 2 championships, looking for a third one. You know, people kind of had that expectation, but Winthrop is shutting that down. Fundamentals have been clean from Winthrop.
I mean,
what you mentioned when they were playing through bot lane, looking for an angle, Maryville, they knew that they were on weak side. They knew that the play was going to be happening through Doxa Frostfire on mid lane, so they were patient waiting for it. Been really good seeing from a team.
You said it there, Winthrop, the underdogs, but still favored in the tournament against most teams. I had them as favorites to win the whole event, looking at their amateur performance, and now they're looking for another play here onto Shady, trying to lock down the Leona. She is tanky, she's got a black shield, so it's difficult to lock her down. Oh, that black shield blocks 3 different forms of CC. That was absolutely beautiful, but now the re-engage coming in here from Spyrax. He's trying to dive onto Saskio. Can they get the 80 carry out of the fight? It's Gwen that might be the actual issue as Doxa trades kills. Frost Force looking for more onto Evan RL. He doesn't have the flash. Doxa's doing the damage. Can they lock him down? They can, of course! Winthrop with another 1 team fight. 3 in their pocket for 180 carry. You take those trades.
You do, but man, Maryville did find an angle. They were looking for something, and Spyrax's flank was great. It's just that they're so far behind. The deficit is just that massive, that even with that great pick on towards Evan RL, it's not enough, and Doxa is able to pick up another kill off that one. 3-0 and 3 for Doxa, 2-0 and 4 for Frostfire. It's just a slaughter from that angle.
You're spending all of your focus trying to get onto the 80 carry. who's doing a great job of kiting, by the way. Also have a Nautilus and an Udyr to peel for you. But then there's a Gwen. Like, Doxa on this Gwen, we've seen that you cannot just allow a Gwen to continually hit you. She does way too much damage for that, and also will heal up through it. So it's not like you can burst her down that much either. Maryville didn't have a lot of options in that fight. They took what they could find, but it was not quite enough.
Yeah.
Will they find another angle is the question, because now they're 4K in the hole, and like you said, a lot of that gold on the key carries of Winthrop.
That's why, for this fight, I don't fault Maryville here. They defended this play very well. You know, the magic shield coming in from Morgana defended Shady quite well. He was able to back away. Renekton had a flank here, and so they can just dive straight on top of Saskio. It was really just the fact that the Renekton lost about 100% of his HP by the time the fight started. So even though they did get the kill on a Saskio, they didn't have an exit strategy. You know, Winthrop was just going to be able to chase them down. So great idea. It's just not working out. Teams at this level, when they are this far behind, they tend to just farm out, give what they can, and put what they can in towards their split push win con and chippies. So maybe that's going to be the idea, but
he's the one solo on the side lane. He's got a kill. He's got the Trinity Force completed, but unfortunately, unfortunately for Maryville, Winthrop were able to pick up that second Rift Herald. There's no denial from Odd Orange this time around. It wasn't necessarily a steal last time as much, just, you know, flipping the bird at him like, hey, you don't even get it. I don't even need it, but you don't get it either. But this time, Winthrop do pick that one up. So where does Frost Force want to put that focus? The dragon spawning in under a minute now. We see on the mini-map. It will be coming up shortly. Yeah. So you got options, right? Do you go for a turret, or do you just drop it as a distraction so you get that dragon?
Going straight mid, so it is a distraction. You already have so much control on bot side that really you're just in an ultra comfortable position. So let's see what the play is. They actually could just get a straight mid turret off of this one as well. They are positioning for it.
But here we see Maryville might actually go for the engage. Shippy's over the wall, but he's all alone. Shippy's looking for the flank. Unfortunately gets caught out from the rest of Winthrop, but now they want more. They go on to Shady. The Leona does have W shield, so no kill picked up there. But yeah, with that pick, I don't think that there's any chance Maryville can actually contest this next dragon take.
Yeah, it was rough. Chippy's, he had the right mind looking for a flank, but there was just the Nautilus in a bush. When you see him, you're like, wait a second. He definitely could have just ran out. I don't understand what was happening in that situation. Maybe we'll see a replay at that point. But at the end of the day, Chippy's was blocked from looking for an attempt. And that's going to be another dragon for Winthrop. And they are now on sold point 19 minutes into the game.
Also, that 6K gold lead, it just keeps getting bigger. Every time I look up there, it's 1K more in the pocket of Winthrop. Let's take another look at that replay. Exactly, what happened to Shippy's here?
Perhaps it's Nautilus who autoed the blast kill? No, it's him. Okay, well.
Oh!
Yeah, that blows. You know, in the end of the day, he wouldn't have gotten what he wanted, but that does mean a faster death for him.
Oh, Maryville looking for the dive on Saskio. Saskio almost turns that one around, has to use the flash right there. Not by the end, though. Yeah, that, unfortunate. I mean, that's when you auto attack the blast cone instead of the Nautilus that's in the control warded bush. Yeah, that's just one of those unfortunate moments right there. Especially in a grand finals, so many eyes on you. The pressure is mounting, and we were just saying Chippies is kind of the shining light of Maryville in this game number 1, but it's still, of course, not over. They were able to get a top lane turret for that play, so a little more gold into the pocket of Spyrex, but I like this from Winthrop. Controlling these side lanes, getting more gold funneled into Doxa.
Yeah, and just denying the you know, the maximum here. Doxa letting the minion wave die out a little bit as he's just keeping the wave at that point. And just so people out there know what these differences, what this gold lead means. That's a Phantom Dancer just straight up that Saskio has over Evan RL. Just one item to the 2 completed and then some. So it's one of those situations where Maryville is just trying to have defensive wards to know what they can fight for. So a ward right next to the Raptors pit, I think, is a great idea. So, you know, that you can kind of soft fight for that play. Okay, well, Frost Force just being annoying. Actually,
he's 1v1ing Shady right now, but Sir Kenji is here. Just commits the flash over the wall, misses the Q, but here we go. Also back on the bottom half of the map. They actually get Doxa. Doxa was split pushing, and Maryville will pick up that kill, but it's straight at top lane for Shady. Now they want more. Spyrex goes down too. Winthrop with a 2-for-1 trade cross map.
I hate to be Chippies and Odd Orange on the opposite side. They're like, hey, we got a successful heist here on the bot side. We killed Doxa. as 2 of your members on the opposite side of the map are dead. Now that's Baron buff now being started by Winthrop. Chippies and Odd Orange specifically is looking for a steal, perhaps?
Yeah, they don't have Evan Orel here. Chippies had teleport, so I thought maybe they go for it, but are they just going to give this over? Ooh, Sir Kenji not finding it. No steal from Odd Orange, though. So that's a Baron at 21 minutes, 50 seconds into the game for Winthrop.
And this is when you take a step back, not only just as audience members, but the teams themselves, and you're like, we have a series. It's not going to be the same wins that Maryville has been happening throughout the tournament. This is a competitive one, and Winthrop is just straight smashing Maryville at the first game of the series.
There's really no other way to describe it. This is a 7K gold lead, 12-3 in kills, 3 dragons to 0. The turrets are kind of close, right? Like, at least Maryville have been playing that split push, but when you're playing the split push from this far behind, it's so hard to actually execute, but maybe they find Doxa again. Doxa's alone. He has flash, but will he be able to use it? There's multiple members trying to collapse on him. Cyan does come in to back him up, but it's not enough. Doxa will go down. Another successful pick here for Maryville. Can the Cyan stay alive long enough? Frostforce just chases down Odd Orange, picks up the kill there. The rest of Winthrop have joined in on the fight. They can actually turn this one around. Maryville thought that they got Doxa, but the rest of the team backing him up. Winthrop turned the play.
Can't blame them. I thought it was creative from Maryville to find the pick bot side, but the boys came in clutch. Even when hybrids died, the revived version, the passive came up and helped out with the DPS there. So a great collapse from Winthrop. Nets themselves 3 kills.
And the Dragons coming up again in under a minute right now, Raz. Winthrop have all this control. Members of Maryville will be back up to contest this, but they're going to have to walk through a blind jungle. They won't have all this wards. And actually, now that I say it, they do at least have some preemptive wards, but the dive under the turret, this is all full of Evan Orel goes down. Saskio picks up another kill right as the objective will be spawning. And Maryville might just have to give over a free Dragon Soul now.
Yeah, you're right. Members were coming back up in time for it, so it was a possibility. We're taking a look at this replay. Once again, the creativity, you got to give it to them. Another kill on towards Doxa, but there is no exit strategy here as Frostforce just straight dives on towards Odd Orange, gets the kill immediately. And in comes Saskio, Sir Kenji, just to clean up the rest of them. I thought it just goes to show, I think Maryville, as creative as they are, just don't have really an answer for this game.
They didn't have Prio mid lane either. Saskio and Sir Kenji just shove out mid and say, oh, we can just walk through the bottom river. We see 3 of them down there, and the other 2 are mid lane, so we're not going to get caught on the rotation. Winthrop just reading the play, having a great response. They get the objective. Dragon Soul picked up here, but another play on these side lanes. This is all that Maryville has in their playbook, and they missed the CC out of hybrids. They're not going to take down Scion.
They're making it clear what they want to do. It's just not happening.
Yep.
And now they're here ready for a fight if they can get it. Camille is in no man's land.
Frostforce just says, we're fighting now. I can start the fight anytime I darn well please. Running down the tanks, running down Chippies. There's an ultimate used preemptively by Shady, but look at hybrids, look at Doxa. They're just routing Maryville University. They have no way to escape. They just want to get back under their turrets, but they can't. Winthrop chase them down. They take down 2. They're looking for Evan Orel as well. That shield keeping him alive just barely. He will not fall, but wow, Winthrop are just throwing their wallets around in these fights saying, you can't answer us, Maryville.
I don't think there's a funnier imagery than Udyr just going up to 3 separate people, individuals, and giving them a bear slap. It's like, all right, you get a slap, you get a slap, you get a slap. The boys are coming in to clean up. Winthrop are doing well to collapse on these players, and take a look at this one.
Yeah,
so he gets the first slap off towards Chippies. Chippies, of course, has hook shot to get out of there. That was a missed ultimate from Varus to keep him still, but that's fine. But yeah, here comes Frostfor, just making his rounds around the teammates. That's 4.
You get a slap,
I miscounted.
you get a slap, you get a slap. Pretty soon, Penguins is going to have to do a slap breakdown of Frostforce's performance here in game number 1 of the championship. Because, yeah, he was a slap champion in my book. Look at this bear running around 6-0 and 8 on the Udyr pick. We talked about Doxa. We talked about Saskio. Frost Forest got MVP in their semifinals match, and he is showing up huge right now in game 1 of the grand finals. This is going to be a broken inhibitor turret. Chippies is not answering, so presumably a broken inhib here as well, because Maryville are not contesting this at all. They have no plays. They have no ways to stop that from happening. So yeah, Winthrop just picking up objective after objective.
Yeah, I mean, you ask players, you ask really the coaching staffs, anyone on the teams. It's not just about Doxa, Frost Forest, Saskio, Serkenji. They are a well-oiled machine. They're definitely a strong team that Maryville has to respect. I like what Chippies is doing here, but Winthrop are just going to force a fight and force his TP.
They're trying to, but Chippies is not actually responding. It's Hybrids that went to answer Chippies in the bottom lane and can do that just fine. And shout out to Hybrids, by the way. We mentioned Frost Force, Doxa, Saskio, Serkenji. Hybrids getting counterpicked by the Camille. Chippies Camille, mind you, the Chad top laner that we analyzed or talked about on the analyst desk, and he held his own. This is not a Flame Horizon Camille that is just shredding these side lanes as an unstoppable threat. Hybrids actually did a great job of weathering that storm, and now they might actually catch Chippies. Frost Force running at him, but no. Hookshot is too much for the rest of Winthrop to follow up on. Chippies does get away.
Here's the thing. I got an opportunity to talk to Hermit, one of the coaches for Winthrop, and he echoes the sentiment about a hybrid. We'll see this fight a little bit first. It's starting up.
We'll get back to that point, Raz, because Winthrop, they want to fight. They want to go right in on a Shady, picking up that kill. Spyrix will fall on, or dude, this might just be game. They don't even need an objective fight. They could just go for this one right here. Flash from Saskio gets it. There's supers in the mid lane, and it's now a 5v2. Are you kidding me? Winthrop University showing up massive in game number 1. It's just Evan RL and Chippies trying to defend their Nexus turrets. 28 minutes into the game. Winthrop have such a clean early focus, and they are willing to close this one out. The Nexus turrets are going to fall. Maryville have no response. Thropper's in the chat. Where you at? Winthrop University are going to take game number 1, but they might have to work for it a little bit more here. No, Maryville got no answer. Winthrop will take game number 1 in our grand finals.
That was dominant with a capital D. It was literally since minute 1 that this was the case, where they played around consistently Dox's advantage and just slapped Maryville. This is a big statement for the finals.
Absolutely, showing that Doxa really does have a differential between himself and Spyrix in that mid lane, despite Spyrix playing the Renekton into the Gwen purposefully, but then also the fact that they could play through their bot lane in the early stages of the game.
Yes.
Saskio getting that early kill, the early ganks going down there. This is a full strength Winthrop that we are seeing right now. This is not a solo carry threat team.
If I were to give my MVP of a game 1, I would give it to Serkenji. I thought that Serkenji had an insane game. You know, not only being there consistently for fights when they were calling for it around Rift Herald, top lane collapse, mid lane, you know, holding the freeze. All of these things, he was just he had a notebook out. He was on every page. So I thought he was doing a great job. You know, wonderful from Serkenji.
Probably the most roaming support player that we have in collegiate, and no surprise that they made it all the way to grand finals with this strategy, right? Constantly putting pressure everywhere on the map. Winthrop, what a performance in game number 1, finding themselves up 1-0 against the reigning champions in Maryville. Everyone on the desk's favorite to win it, but everybody, if there's a time right now, Throps out in the chat. We're going to send it over to a short break before the State Farm analyst comes back and gets us prepped for game 2. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the 2021 College League of Legends Championship. All the Maryville fans out there maybe tightened up a little bit after game one as Winthrop came through with an upset, bringing themselves in the winning position at the start of this series. So we're here to break it down. I got TJ, I got Alorum, and Alorum, you haven't been here on the desk with us for some of the drafting journeys of time past, getting to see some Gwen come out. And as we were talking through this game, it does feel like there are some staple picks.
My God, draft kingdom right here for Winthrop. I don't know how this could happen. I'm losing my mind over here. So first of all, Gwen, extremely strong champion. I'd say probably the strongest in the game and should have priority for the rest of eternity until she is nerfed. And I think for the rest of the series, she will either be first picked on blue side or first banned on red side. She's just too strong. And on top of that, they got Varus and Udyr, two other very highly contested picks. And so what they used their 1-2 for was the Kaisa Morgana, which I can see the thought of it is that they picked this really heavy dive comp with Kaisa Morgana. But the lane phases and the strengths of the champions just don't match how strong Udyr, Gwen, and Varus are. So I'm a little confused on that. And the one advantage that they could get was on the top side of the map where they had the counter pick due to the blind pick Scion. But Camille, in my opinion, is not even that much of a winning matchup for the Camille because Scion, as soon as he hits 6, you take the first base, you get your Bramble Vest. Camille's pressure on the Scion is actually very low, and if anything, Scion can get very good trades. After Camille uses E, you can get the slow in and the big Q. So draft, I think, really made a huge difference in this first game, and very, very heavily favored Winthrop.
And
speaking to that very
TJ,
slightly
yeah,
in
that was
terms of
definitely the case.
In terms of the top lane matchup, I think that is super important that if you're going to sack your other lanes a little bit, you create a more meaningful advantage, whether that be through super unique picks like Alawi or Darius, or even a more standard pick like Aatrox that can really punish some of those melee bruisers, instead of just kind of being even farm against a Scion, which tends to play towards Winthrop's win condition.
And the top lane is definitely something that we were kind of talking through, but I do want to pay attention to the bot lane as well. Alorum had mentioned some of these very strong picks, like the Udyr being picked up from the Winthrop side. And immediately, TJ, we saw that power being brought down to the bot lane.
Right, so here we see Frost Forest going for a relatively early-ish gank. This is like 6 minutes, but you can see laners still haven't reset. So Maryville's wave is coming back to them. They don't need to actually step up for this because they can just wait, collect the wave under turn, and be down on tempo. What actually ends up happening is that Frost Forest gets a very good proactive gank, and that sets them up for really good mid-game success.
And it carried over Winthrop. It's not like they just pulled this win out by the skin of their teeth. They had domination that was rolling through even when it came to the team fight scenarios here. If we're looking back at a replay that's brought to you by Stream Recap, we saw the full force of this team when they get into these moments, TJ.
So here we see that Maryville is able to kill the Rift Herald, and then Winthrop, snowballing a little bit from their advantage earlier, is able to win this fight, which is very interesting because it has a very high cost for Maryville. Orange, who is probably going to be one of the big playmakers for this next few minutes, loses his flash, and they lose a bunch of extra kills. So this means that Winthrop from here on forward is in the driver's seat of the game, and it's going to be very difficult for Maryville to try to claw their way back in.
And I think this speaks volume as to how far ahead Winthrop actually were during the lane phase. A big problem with Maryville right here is that they picked the Renekton counterpick against the Gwen, which, in my opinion, Gwen's a little too OP. There's nothing that counters her. But they did take the Ignite Renekton, which means, all right, we've got to win the lane and we want to win it hard, right? But they don't really have a great duo combination for Renekton. If you're going to pick Renekton for a lane kingdom, you would much rather see something like a Nidalee or even a Lee Sin, even though Lee Sin's more meta in the solo lanes. You want to have a jungler that can follow up on the Renekton hard CC for a really quick kill. But when you have Morgana, it's really not that good because her CC coming at the range like that, Gwen can easily dodge with her W. And so because they didn't get ahead with the Renekton pick, Gwen was able to get that CS lead with the teleport advantage, and through that, they won the very first team fight that came around to Herald and snowballed the lead through the rest of the game.
Speaking back to that mid lane matchup, actually, level 1, we saw Doxa significantly outplay Spyrax. He got a big HP chunk, and as you mentioned, it was with the TP. the Ignite. This becomes really interesting and really punishing because Odd Orange actually spent a lot of time trying to then fix the mid lane and the wave state, which then ended up costing him his Raptor camp and a couple of other small advantages. So in the future, for maybe something that you're less comfortable on, it'd be really important to either figure out how to snowball with that Ignite or take TP to scale a little bit better.
You mentioned the Auto Orange trying to kind of mitigate some of those issues from before and create advantages. And it's not like that was the only time that MU tried to do so. I mean, Alorum, we have had some difficulty sometimes in the side lanes, and MU is definitely trying to bring some kind of pressure back there.
Yeah, so I really like the idea that MU had here. When a team gets Baron, usually a standard play is to make a trap play like this. You just sit in a side lane that you're expecting them to push, and you wait for them to overstep and punish them based on that. Winthrop fell into this trap, but that it just speaks volumes to how far ahead they were. They got the pick they wanted on the Gwen, but because they were so far ahead, it's just so hard for Maryville to actually do something on top of that pick. So I like the idea, but by that time in the game, it was a little too late. And I would like to see Winthrop in the future think about, after they get the Baron, the immediate comms are, okay, what's the next play that Maryville is going to do so they can avoid some small mistakes like this.
Speaking of the future, we know that for game number 2, Winthrop have selected blue side, so they will be remaining in that position. If you tuned into the semifinals, you know that there was no switching of the side selection when it came to Winthrop's last series, and we might end up seeing the same here. But if we're looking over at Maryville and some of the things they can look to maybe try and turn the fates, I mean, we had kind of mentioned before that Chippies, for instance, can be a very strong source for their team, even having some early moments. Alorum, are you still aligned that is where we can maybe see some of that play come from, or anything else that you want to see from Maryville specifically going into game number 2?
While I would like to see Chippies have pick a better matchup for his counter pick top on the red side, assuming they do go it all the way down to the 5th, what I would really like to see from MU on this red side now is 1, Gwen ban, 2, Udyr ban, and then go from there. I really don't want to see that again because it's so bad, and it seems like Frost Forest has a really good idea what to do on Udyr. And Odd Orange, in my opinion, is better on a champion like Udyr on the tanks like Sejuani than he is on the mages. And I know, TJ, you mentioned this earlier during the game, that he could use a little work on the mages, so let's stick to something else.
Yeah, that's not to say that his carry play isn't good, right? We did highlight that he does play carries very well, but Maryville seems to have more success when Odd Orange can either A, play something aggressive like the Lisa Nidalee, or B, tend to be on something that's more bruisery focused, where, again, he can still get up in your face and still punish a bad matchup or miss positions, but it's not reliant on hitting a Morgana Q or really having to think about how spell rotations are being used. In terms of looking forward, I'd love to see Maryville just refocus, take a step back and say, okay, what do we need to do in this next game? Because just because that was a dominating win from Winthrop, that doesn't mean that Maryville is still not in a position to come back and play their game moving forward. They definitely have it in them, and it's just up to them to really say, okay, guys, happens. What can we do moving forward?
We have seen them make those adjustments in some of the past series, and I'm sure they will be looking to do the same as we ourselves move forward with our championship best of 5. Because guess what? Winthrop, they pulled out the W. They gave us some of those sweet plays, and I think that we're in for some more from both sides of this equation. We'll see you on the other side of this break for game number 2.
Hey, I didn't order any pizza.
Jake from State Farm. After you saved me so much dough on insurance with that Parker promo, I devised a promo for you.
Here's the deal, Parker. State Farm offers everyone surprisingly great rates.
Yeah, right. Pepperoni pockets, an atomic brownie, cuckoo crusty.
There's no promo, it's just great rates.
And a cider ranch. You're the man.
When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.